I'm Kevin Casey. I'm a professional mixed martial arts fighter. And right now what I'm about to do is issue a warning out to all other competitors.
I don't want overs. I just expect them to happen.
Fatty's gonna fatty is real.
He is terrible!
We gotta know how many wieners are going down these dudes' throats.
I'm gonna go quick because I don't give a fuck about anything that's gonna happen on Saturday.
Hello, boys! We are back for another edition of the MMA Analysis podcast. I'm not only joined by the usual suspects this week, we got one of the OGs returning for a special edition. I'm going to start with him because we haven't talked to him in a while. The one and only, the Eastern Canadian, the lacrosse expert, Bradley Trollchuk. The God. The lacrosse God, as Sosman calls him. Bradford, what's happening?
Don't call it a comeback, boys. And I'm serious about that because I won't be here next week.
Because it's a one-time deal.
I didn't say it was going to be a regular occurrence.
I know. I'm warning the listeners. Don't get your hopes up that the show is going to return to former glory because, maybe in time I'll be able to. I actually do have something in the works to get to a normal schedule. So we'll see. There's don't call it a comeback for now, but maybe like GSP. I'm just going to retire for a little bit and then wait till I'm not impressed with some performances.
The problem with that is you're going to have to start actually watching fights again.
I mean, I haven't
a little bit.
I watched a bit.
He's dipping his toe in.
Yeah, this ESPN deal actually, you can actually watch cards and not hate yourself. So, maybe we'll see.
You can't pull a gamble master and just take the penalty, Brad. You actually got to do a little research.
Okay, we need to talk about this because people might have seen us tweet it and stuff like that, but MMA gambling Twitter is so bad that I bet one or two events a quarter, and I just take penalties the rest of the time, or this quarter I'm doing a full card parlay, and I still managed to cash in the Gamble Master events. Like, what are you guys doing? What's wrong with you?
People go for broke. If you ain't first, you're last.
Brad, but at the same time, you're tied with me atop the MMA Oddsbreaker standings for Pick'em, so apparently you're doing something right, at least the first 6 weeks of the year.
Sure can pick names.
And I think I picked 27 of the last 30 fights. So, I mean, you're doing something really right.
I mean, this MMA stuff just isn't that hard, guys.
It's too easy.
Michael. All right. I know. We got the usual suspects. The Sodsman is here with us. We got Nushan with us. I gotta start with this tweet because this is the Mookie. This is such a Lance Fishel type of thing. So I'm reading it now. I know it happened a few hours ago before we recorded. So Michael Chiesa tweets,
"Oh shit!
Hey ESPN, next NCAA wrestling season, it is imperative that you start showing NCAA wrestling matches on primetime ESPN. Not ESPN2 or ESPNU. You do it for boxing. You have UFC. Now do the right thing for wrestling. Primetime NCAA wrestling on ESPN. Thank you." Why is I hear you laughing?
Not self-aware at all.
I mean, I think he still got some of those shards of glass from the bus attack, from the dolly throw stuck in his fucking brain. Like, this is the problem with these guys, though, man. Like, this is why
they're so not self-aware of anything.
They're in their bubble. They're in their bubble.
Yeah. When I'm sure Michael Chiesa thinks he deserves fucking Conor money to fight too, so yeah.
Well, he needs to fix those cauliflower ears, that's for damn sure.
Yeah. But I do have to say, when March Madness comes around, ESPN actually does a good job of covering the tournament. They've got like a stream going for every mat, everything like that. So, who cares if it's on real ESPN? Just go on your computer and you can find everything you want to watch. If you want to watch wrestling, you can find wrestling to watch. I fucking stream Tuesday night lacrosse from Furman playing High Point and garbage like that. So you can.
You don't even need a computer. You can do it on your. You can have your TV. Smart TV. You can do it through your phone.
You could get you a fucking $25 Chromecast. You can literally put whatever you want on your TV from your computer. You don't even need a fucking HDMI cord anymore.
Dude, there are so many options. I mean, I just cut my cord, cable cord, less than a month ago to YouTube TV, and I'm having a grand old time with that. It's like saving myself $100 a month, and it's super easy. The stream is just as good. I mean, the only thing I got to deal with is like a live sports, a bit of a lag, 20 seconds or so. But I mean, other than that, I mean, it's fine. We're technology, baby. Live with it.
Yep. Yeah. Moral of the story: don't get punched in the head for a living because you're going to end up dumb.
Right.
It's not worth it.
Man, some of these guys are so dumb. Like, I feel they're dumber in this sport than they are in every other major sport.
Oh, yeah.
It's mind-boggling dumb. It really is. So, other news going on. GSP retired again? Like, Brad, I'm gonna default to you again, being our Canadian, our Eastern Canadian expert. I know, Nushan, you're out west, but Brad, I feel you're closer to the scene.
My city's pretty bilingual, so,
I think, fine. I mean, over-under, how many more? Over-under half. Does GSP return again? Do you take the over?
I think I have to. It's MMA. Like, nobody ever stays retired. Yeah. How many times did Randy Couture retire? Like 3?
Too many.
Yeah, but he also had how many divorces, so that kind of costs you money. I think GSP is a little smarter.
He's the Larry King of MMA.
Just wait until GSP can actually dip into that Playboy lifestyle. Then he's going to need some more money. Then he's going to come back to MMA. So GSP coming back at 41 years old, something like that. There's going to be some fight at some point where UFC is going to need to throw a bunch of money at him. And GSP is gonna come running.
I get it.
I don't know about that one.
Everyone says he's the one guy that's not gonna do it, but he came back for the Bisping fight. If he's smart, if it's a fight that makes enough money and isn't a huge threat to him in terms of taking a ton of damage, he'll be there.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Brad. I think it's always, man, money talks, man. I mean, the guy's still only 37 years old. I mean, he's got another 3, 4, 5 years of somebody talking him into a fight. I mean, he makes money out of the sport up in Canada and stuff. He still has decent endorsements and everything, but I mean, when they come in, with $8, $9, $10 million for a fight, that's hard for any man to turn down. And yeah, I agree. I think eventually there's going to be a matchup that's going to intrigue him.
I thought the fight was that.
But that's not intriguing to GSP.
Sure?
There's no reason on this earth for GSP to go fight Khabib. There's just none.
I think that's supposedly that's what he wanted. And they couldn't make it work out. I don't know if that's a money thing or if that's
supposedly he wanted to fight Anderson. Supposedly, there's a lot of supposedlys in MMA.
They give GSP fucking $8-9 million to fight Anderson. You don't think he wouldn't be back next month to fight Anderson? Yeah, absolutely.
And he'd beat him too.
They're not going to give him that. They're not going to give him that money for an Anderson fight. But there'd be a fight down the line, I think, and there's going to be more money, more and more money in this sport too. This
ESPN deal is certainly starting to pay dividends. It seems like there's definitely more interest. They're doing a much better job promoting it as well.
Yeah, their production and shit, like outside of the fight nights, like
right,
their videos and the stories they're doing, like the Kron video they did was A+. That's one of the best things that I've seen done by the UFC or their partner in a while. That was a really, really good video. And ESPN's doing that far better than Fox ever thought about doing. It's paying off too.
Yeah, I think so. So the question I want to ask each of you, going back on, we'll just look back at GSP's career. I'm just curious, what do you think is GSP's best win? I'll start with Bradford.
He's got a few. I feel like I have to go with the UFC 65, the second Hughes fight, just because Hughes was still that guy at the time, and GSP just absolutely wasted him. Like, his takedown defense was phenomenal. Like, we knew it was great. It was phenomenal in that fight. He had his little air sprawl where Hughes had full body lock on him and almost got the takedown, and GSP just flew and just dominated, ended it with the head kick. That was a beautiful performance, beautiful finish, and against the guy he did it to at the time, that was a top pound for pound guy.
Yes. All right, Wes, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean that's a hard one to go against. I think just the whole kind of the shock around that too, like people that weren't really into it back then doesn't realize Matt Hughes was the dude back then. I mean, he was one of the best fighters on the planet, and that was just incredible. That little run right there, I think, for GSP was kind of set him on the path to greatness. I mean, he beat BJ Penn when BJ Penn was fucking BJ Penn. That dude was incredible. And GSP just worked him, man. Those two back-to-back wins right there were pretty incredible to me. I mean, those are probably his best wins. I don't take away from the Bisping win he just had. I think that was pretty impressive to come back and win that fight for being off the time he had. I mean, I thought that was a pretty impressive win. It's hard to go against that Hughes. I will say his kind of his coming out when he beat Carl Parisian, like a lot of people won't even remember that fight and stuff, but Carl Parisian was like one of the next big things in MMA back then, and GSP put a whooping on that dude, and I think that was kind of when people were like, holy shit. And, then he beat Jay Haran after that, which Jay Haran was a pretty big deal in the sport back then. So just kind of those fights, that ended up getting him a title shot against Matt Hughes, which shows you how impressive those wins were that young in his career to beat those two guys who most people in the sport thought were the next big things. I got to agree with Brad. The Matt Hughes fight is probably got to be his most impressive. BJ Penn fight's right there with me. And then the Bisping fight, his last fight, impresses me too. But yeah, incredible career. But I agree with Brad. He's going to be back. Don't mistake that. I think he fights again.
All right, new Sean.
I don't think it was his best win, but I think one of his biggest wins was the fight against Jake Shields in the Rogers Center. It was in front of like 56,000 people.
Huge.
Just a massive.
Wasn't that the biggest audience ever?
I think it set the record at the time. I don't know if it's still a record.
I think one of the Australia ones beat it. But
but at the time,
it was the biggest for sure.
That was massive. And I mean, Jake Shields he still was pretty damn good.
Jake Shields, top 10 most underrated MMA career of all time.
Yep, just kind of his style. Nobody liked his style, but man, when you can shut down Henderson and just do the things that he did, and even against like Damian Maia and stuff like that, and GSP had none of it. It was that was a big win for him.
It's another good run right there.
I'm gonna take it in a different direction because I think the best win against the fighter, if I had to grade the fighter, pound for pound at that time, who I think would be in anybody on this list was 2013 Johnny Hendricks, coming off of wins over a huge KOs of John Fitch, Martin Kampman, decision Koscheck, and Condit. and then going into that St. Pierre fight, and he gave St. Pierre the dog fight. This was Hendricks at his best.
Arguably lost that fight.
It was arguably lost. It took a lot of damage, but even still, just kind of going toe to toe with the multiple-time NCAA wrestling champion,
peak Hendricks.
After St. Pierre's peak, and still, I mean, arguably coming away with the win. He did come away with it from the judges' perspective. I thought that said a lot about GSP, even considering, I think that was still way later than his other victories, kind of later in that streak. So that's the one that I think really kind of stood out, over the course of his career, because I didn't think Hendricks was flawed. I thought some of his other victories, were against more flawed fighters. The likes of, Nick Diaz or Koscheck was really just primarily a wrestler that, had one punch, but, Dan Hardy was really just a puncher as well. But the Hendricks win, I think really stood out. But, and then the Bisping as well, I guess, even coming back so far later, after retiring.
4 years.
Yeah, and he took damage in that fight, but he still found a way and beat a guy who fought in a weight class above him. I mean, the guy hasn't had his hand raised when he fought in over 10 years. I mean, that's still remarkable. So for me, he's easily a top 5 fighter of all time, and inside of my top 3. He's not my number 1, but he's an excellent fighter.
I got him right there. I got him right in 3, 4, 5 range. I got him above Anderson. We talked about that before the show. I think he's far better than Anderson, personally.
Who do you have as 1 and 2?
Well, I mean, John Jones.
Yeah.
John Jones, of course, and then there's a few guys there. I don't think Fedor gets the love that he deserves for his domination.
Fedor's had too much career after his prime.
That's the problem. He had too long of a career where the front half of his career is lost to the abyss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, completely. He phased himself out. A little bit like Aldo as well, to be fair. If Aldo
way passed out. Way passed out.
Aldo's still wrecking top 10 guys.
Yeah. I get it, but you get what I'm saying though. He was beat after he peaked, understand? I mean, if John retired today, that's it. If Habib retires today, that's a different thing. We don't
Habib isn't retired?
Well, apparently he's still calling out GSP. Yeah, we got Brad back, so got the old guard back. So let's talk a little bit about last week's card.
It's a good one.
Down in Phoenix, Arizona, down in our friend of the MMA Analysis, Uncle Louie's land, at the Talking Stick Resort Arena in Phoenix, the first ever UFC on ESPN card, the first ever main card on UFC on ESPN, because the prelims of the previous pay-per-view were on ESPN, but this was the first main card, first main event to be on that card. We'll start with the undercard, something called Emily Whitmire beat Alexandra Albu by submission in the first round. Just an embarrassing performance from Albu. We'll talk a couple minutes about this next fight. Renan Barão, again, comes out strong in the first round, looks good against Luke Sanders, and then loses for the 6th time in 7 fights. A knockout, KO'd clean by Luke Sanders.
And the win was against Philippe Nover that he didn't deserve.
Agreed. Brad, is this the end of the road for Renan Barão? Do we need to have Joe Rogan have a conversation with Renan Barão?
Man, it's kind of scary because at this point you can tell that even the people around him, like Pederneiras and those guys, I'm not even sure if he's training at Nova União anymore, but nobody believes in him anymore.
Nobody.
And like he doesn't believe in himself and hasn't for a while. But it's just sad to see at this point because, the guy, he wasn't as good as he was hyped up to be at the time when he was on top, but this was a damn good fighter. This was a top 10 pound for pound fighter at
easily.
one time. and it's one of the guys from the generation of my favorite fight team ever, probably.
Ooh.
From that Nova União generation of guys that were just absolute monsters, and it's scary to see how he's fallen.
Yeah. Wes, let's get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, he's had probably the steepest walk off a cliff of any fighter that I might have ever seen. I don't even think it's just that. It's too.
No,
it's way too much past that. You don't just take away a guy's fucking get right juice and he's that bad. The dude's 32 years old, man. It's incredible it's incredible the cliff he fell off, man. Dude looked good in the first round. I mean, that we've seen that same story over and over, man. And then he hits a wall, and man, that knockout was brutal. I mean, Sanders literally had him by the throat, dropping. I can't remember that one fight.
Keith Jardine and
Jardine, where he had him by the throat. I mean, it was.
You mean you're missing the correct term though. That's the rape choke.
That's the rape choke, baby.
That's the Lloyd Irvin.
How hard do you think Lloyd Irvin got in the back seeing that go down on the card? Whew. Hosed me down.
Can we talk about Luke Sanders being like minus 140 to hit him Burrell?
Possibly losing the first round to
we knew that was a possibility, though. We knew that. We knew that was a possibility. But
when you know that Luke Sanders is going to be the stronger of the two fighters by the second and third rounds,
there you go.
And you completely have faith that he is not going to blow a fight for once, that's saying something.
Yeesh, that's a bad.
And I know there was people saying that he's going to mook out like usual, but man, if he did it in this fight, they was going to have to prove me wrong, man, because he was fighting a ghost in there, and it's exactly what happened.
Yeah, sad times. Our boy Nicky Lenz took out Scott Holtzman. I feel the Twitter nerds lost this one.
Yeah, they did.
They did. Andrea Lee, straight up decision to Ashley Evans Smith, who continues to be terrible. Manny Bermudez does what Manny Bermudez does, took down a guy who can't defend a takedown, easily submitted him inside the first round.
Fun.
And, most importantly, the fight that should have been our consensus, that wasn't our consensus, Aljamain Sterling did exactly what Wes and I thought what he would do, was maintain distance and completely outclass Jimmy Rivera to win 30-27 across the board for his best win of his career. Brad, thoughts on the prelim card? Anything stand out to you?
Didn't watch the first fight. I don't understand how people... I know that Holtzman's had this weird following, but his wins were over Daryl Horcher, Michael McBride, and Alan Patrick, who is the worst. The guy's got a record. There you go. And Lentz has consistently been fighting good fighters through his entire career. This was not a shocking result. This is how this fight was supposed to go.
There's a lot of correct statements there. Wes.
Yeah, and another thing I'll point out about that fight is going in, I saw a lot of people claiming that Holtzman was going to be the better wrestler in this fight.
Fucking idiots.
That is going to be one of the mookiest statements to come out of MMA in months.
And if you're really I don't want to bash people. This will be my last thing saying about it. If that was your breakdown,
I don't mind bashing with that.
If that was your breakdown to sell actual picks on this fight to people, man, I don't know who you're fucking conning, but I mean, let me in on some of that game, because that's insane, man. There's no way Holtzman was going to be the better wrestler ever. I mean, Lentz actually wrestled. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
didn't wrestle at a shitty school. Wrestled at Minnesota,
exactly
right after a couple years after the Brock Lesnar era, when they were winning national championships and. Whew.
Yeah, and I actually went back and Lesnar was still going back and training those guys and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Holtzman is a fucking hockey brawler. Like, where did y'all get that he was a better wrestler than Nick Lentz? But anyways, Nick Lentz, another dog that hit. Didn't give a fuck about Andrew Lee fight. Yeah, I was wrong about Benito Lopez. Manny Bermudez looked good, man. That dude's got to make weight, but he looked pretty good. And Sterling, not just the best win of his career. I said it last week. It kind of like the Marlon Moraes thing, to where a guy's he's starting to get it. A guy's starting to peak in his career. Everything's coming together. Man, Sterling looked great. It was even past what we thought. him keeping some distance and throwing the kicks. I mean, he tooled up Jimmy Rivera. It wasn't even close, man. That was a hell of a performance from Aljo.
All right, Nushan, your thoughts here.
For the Aljo fight, I pulled a J last week. I kind of was scared away on the line to play Sterling. I was looking more Jimmy Rivera. Then the props come out, and Sterling by decision was like plus 220. So I actually jumped on that. So, of course, then all of us were on Sterling, and then, of course, he wins. So that would have been a nice, easy consensus. But what can you do? I was really surprised in that fight. Like, Jimmy Rivera had absolutely nothing. I thought it was going to be a little bit closer than that. He really could not do much with Aljo. I thought he like, the difference between that Dodson fight and the Sterling fight is just black and white. Like, Rivera just didn't throw, couldn't get inside. That was a bad performance by Jimmy Rivera. And yeah, Sterling. I've always been a fan of Sterling, so it's good to see him, continue to grow and round out his striking skills to go along with his pretty damn good grappling skills.
He said he wants the Moraes rematch, and man, I love Aljo, but I'm telling you, it's the same exact thing.
I think he's more going for the winner of Garbrandt and Munoz next week.
Yeah, I mean, Moraes is getting some form of a title shot next. I mean, he's got to. But my point is, it would go the same exact way. He's not at this point. Moraes is he's way too good.
Sterling has been great. He's still limited. His hands still aren't good. His defense, once he gets in the pocket, isn't good. But he's done such a good job at using the skills he does have to avoid those situations that it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, he uses a lot of kicks, more so than he's probably one of the most kick-heavy fighters in the sport. And yeah, it's a nightmare for guys that are 4 or 5 inches, shorter than him, or
I thought you were saying Jimmy Rivera was 4'5", which
it's not far off. It's not far off. Yeah, Jimmy is a mook. He's a pretender. He is a pretender. And I say that as a fellow New Jerseyan. So, another underdog that hit, another one that we called on this show. I thought we were on fire last week. Andre Fili winning 29-28 against Miles Jury. I think this was a fair decision, right, guys?
Yeah, I thought it was. It was a good fight. I thought Jury stayed in there pretty good. There was some close rounds, but by the time the third rolled around, I mean, I thought Philly, he was pouring it on, and Jury was fading, and Bray got one. Yeah, another dog hit.
Yeah, Jury's bad. Like, like
I
still don't
Jury
think Philly's that good, but ugh.
I thought Jury was going to quit when he started getting busted up real bad.
Started bleeding real bad.
Yeah, I didn't think he had any toughness in him, really. But whatever.
Yeah, that's a whatever
about a
fight.
Tough guy. Let's just go to the next one.
Yeah, let's go to the next fight. Now, I mean, I know it's recency bias, but this is one of the most entertaining fights that I've seen in I don't know how long, quite some time. Vicente Luque was somehow down 2 rounds on 2 of the judges' scorecards and needed a finish to win.
That's incredible.
Not only did he finish Brian Barberina, but he KO'd him. He's the first person to ever KO Brian Barberina, and did so with 6 seconds left in the 3rd round to earn the huge victory. Fight of the night bonus. Great fight. Brad, your thoughts?
I got 2 things to say. First of all, it's clear by the judges' scorecards that there was sweet chicken parm going around the table in Arizona. So you know that's what's going on with the two judges that had it for Broken Back Arena.
Is that news? Holy shit. Add that to the book.
But the fight was incredible. I actually thought that Barberena had a chance until I heard that little bit of insight. But that kept me off, and then I was kind of worried because I thought that Luque was winning the fight, but it was close enough. It was in Arizona, all that stuff going that so you thought maybe it would go to Barberena, but the ability to pour it on like that at the end was just incredible. And we're gonna forget that Luque's better on the ground than he is on the feet.
Kid's good. I think he's really good. I'm actually more impressed with Luque coming out of that fight. I saw a few people that was kind of like, oh, it took all that to take out Barberena. It's like, have you watched Barberena at all? Like in the past 3 or 4 years? Like,
guy likes kitchen sinks. Man,
you can't get that guy out of there. And I mean, props to Luque for. I mean, that dude took some shit in that fight, man, and he kept coming forward. He kept throwing. He needed it. That's just atrocious that 2 judges could have.
I thought it was only one. I'm pretty sure it was only one had Barberena up 2-0. The other 2 were split going into the third.
You might be right. Either which way, there's no way that a guy can drop somebody twice in the first round and do what Luque did and lose a round. That's just absolutely atrocious. But man, yeah, Barberena, that dude might be one of the toughest fucking guys I've ever seen walk into the cage. I mean, that dude's legit a crazy man. And like Brad said, Luque might be a better jiu-jitsu guy than he actually is a striker. And his hands have just become incredible. I mean, that dude's got power in both hands. He was hurting Barberena, but I don't even want to say he was hurting him till like later on, but like, 90% of the shit that Luque hit Barberena with is dropping a lot of guys in that division. Like, it's incredible what Barberena took. I mean, he was getting hit with clean right hands that seriously would have took down a lot of guys in the 170-pound division. I like Luque going forward, but that he took a little damage, man. I hope he takes a little bit of time off because like a guy like and he's coming back again. Fucking Anders. I mean, we saw like the fights Anders have been getting in lately, and him coming back within months, and that dude's coming back in like another couple months. So, I just hope Luque takes a little bit of time off.
Okay. Nushan.
Yeah, I don't have too much more. Just really impressed by Luque and obviously impressed by Barberena's toughness. I did think that like Luque was blocking a lot of those pitter-patter shots that Barberena was throwing.
Yep.
And I was curious, like, when they came out with the stats, how many shots that Barberena landed. I was wondering if they count all those. Like, do they only count a miss if it actually misses the guy, or if they count it as a block? Because there was a shit ton of him just, like, literally just...
They gave him a bunch. He
was like literally just touching Luque with his fist.
His arms. Yeah, he was just tapping his forearms and shit.
That's a little bit weird on the numbers and stuff like that. But yeah, this is a fight that I think will just make Luque better. Being able to come back after getting dropped and just fight through a guy that just would not go down. He's a fun guy to watch. Can't wait.
This is also your annual reminder that significant strikes, with the air quotes, is the worst stat ever created for any sport.
Yep.
From MMA.
MMA stats are just kind of fluky as hell anyway. There's a lot of ones,
but very, very few of them. Like, I know Jay talks about like strikes per minute or whatever. I think that is something that can be used just because you can see how active somebody is.
Yeah, they don't all have to land.
But when we're talking about landing and stuff like that, like you kind of have to throw that out.
Strikes per minute, takedown defense percentage, shit like that can absolutely be used. But like,
and even some of that stuff you have to take into context too. You have to take it all into context with MMA, man.
You got to see it. You can't. It ain't like
they're not playing 80 or 160 games in a year to even
like
out
hitting a ball or
the flukes and stuff like that. So.
Yep. Or when you're about to shit your pants, like you can't.
That happens.
Yeah.
Next fight up, one guy who didn't shit his pants because I guess he didn't go unconscious. Alex Caceres taking on Ron Gracie.
Awesome.
Didn't take long. Now did it? Less than a round. Alex Caceres submitted by the Gracie man. First Gracie to get a win in the UFC since 1994.
It's crazy,
Brad.
that is absolutely insane.
Years plus.
Yeah, Chrome was like, what, 6?
Can we stop talking about how great Gracies are? No one can win.
Hey, Hickson is still the GOAT, man.
You think so?
400-0.
Oh, of course.
But yeah, this fight went exactly as anyone with a brain thought it would. Caceres always gets in scrambles and puts himself in bad positions, and it really didn't even take that much. As soon as this was on the mat, it was a wrap.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, just an absolute perfect matchup for Gracie in this one, and Crone's sub was like minus 135, minus 140. Like that's the only thing that was ever going to happen in this fight. But I think this Gracie is a real fighter. I think he's more than just, which he is an incredible jiu-jitsu guy. I think he's more than that. I think he's got that. I think he's got that gritty, that dirty, that fighter shit, man. He's a Diaz almost, man. And I think the guy's going to be pretty good, man. I'm intrigued by him. I know the Gracie hasn't won in a long, long time at the UFC, but I don't think a lot of the Gracies that they've brought to the cage and the past decade have been true fighters. I mean, it's a lot of jiu-jitsu guys that just want to, they have that name. They feel they got to go in there and prove themselves. And I just don't think a lot of those guys had it all. I think this dude does. So I'm really intrigued to see where they go with him in the future.
All right, next fight up, we got Cynthia Calvillo decisioning Courtney Casey in a fairly lackluster fight. Nushan, did you bet the over here?
I did, but I had it parlayed with that first fucking fight, so it didn't matter. But I did give a tip to the OBC for taking Calvillo on by decision in that cash for him. So at least that'll help somebody else out.
Yeah. Okay. Next fight. This one went in favor of what we like on the MMA Analysis podcast. James Vick, looking like he's back to reality. Paul Felder took him out, even with a punctured lung. Brad, start us off.
Okay, let's get that part out of the way. How ridiculous is Paul Felder?
Yeah.
Fights the last round, part of the last round. I don't know exactly how much it
Gives
was.
an interview afterwards. Fuck.
Fucking collapsed lung. Holy shit. And then he's upset because he can't fly to wherever the fuck they're fighting this weekend and commentate the fights because he's got a collapsed lung and he had to stay an extra day in the hospital. Man, that dude is wild.
Oh, man.
He then had another surgery today because it wasn't reacting to what it was supposed to. So now he's pushed back another week before he can fly again, I think.
Jeez.
Jesus,
but
right.
As far as the fight goes, it's what's better than watching James Vick lose? The answer to that is watching James Vick lose to Justin Gaethje by knockout. But yeah, but anytime you can watch Vic get beat up a little bit, it's a fun time.
Yeah, there's no worry there. Wes, your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, how laughable is it that like a year ago there were people like James Vick's a top 10 fighter in the division and he needs to be getting close to a title shot. Like, come on, man! Like You talk about tall guy defense. Have we ever seen tall guy defense like this? Holy shit, man! Like this dude,
it's on par with Struve.
Yeah, dude. I mean, literally, it's like his
Right
chin.
there.
His chin has a balloon full of helium sitting right under it, and it just floats. It just floats around there. Man, Felder was tagging him up so much, dude. That was pretty good, dude. Like, I get don't get more pleasure out of watching too many guys lose than James Vick, and yeah, I don't know if it's still not as good as the Gagey because he didn't get slicked out, and we kind of talked about it that night. We all wanted James Vick to get knocked the fuck out, but yeah, it's still all good to watch him lose. And yeah, Paul Felder, man, all dude, holy shit, man, like a collapsed lung to even stand there and give the interview and shit after. He was in the hospital between like, I just want some beer and tacos. That's it. And like the next day, he's got a pic of somebody brought him some tacos and shit, which is pretty cool. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, Paul Felder's cool cat, man. Seems like a really good dude. I'm as happy for him as happy seeing James Vick go down. So yeah, cool people.
John,
Just a good win for all people that are anti-rape. It's about it.
There we go. Fuck Lloyd Irvin as a crew, as a record label.
right.
Staff, record label, and a motherfucking crew.
Yeah, there you go.
So Zion's out for the whole game.
Ooh.
Yep.
He looked like he
Says
did.
Knee injury.
They said it was knee, not ankle.
He was grabbing the back of his knee after that happened.
It looked like a handy or something.
Still never seen a sole of a shoe come out, but that's, I mean, I've
Yep,
seen with that guy,
wild.
there's a lot of things we're seeing that we haven't seen before.
I bet you his first signature shoe has some like shackles on the side or something like that.
like 3-strap weightlifting shoes or something.
Oh shit.
Speaking of knee injury,
Yeah.
the main event of this fight card,
He's back.
Cain Velasquez came back.
We tried to tell him, Sean.
Tried.
Yeah.
We said, would he make it to the cage? He made it to the cage, but not far beyond that. Francis Hawgannou went in there. I'm not really exactly sure what happened. It looked like a little bit of a weird uppercut. Cain slips, hurts his knee, starts crying, fight's over. Brad, did I get that right, or did I miss that?
Not a little uppercut.
No, there was no uppercut at all. It was just Cain's knee. He lost. Cain lost the fight because of his knee, guys.
That's what happens. Too.
That's what happens when a giant black man hits you in the face with an uppercut. Is you hurt your knee. Obviously, you guys didn't know that, but I'm kind of just happy that Cain was nice enough to round off his time in opening main events of network deals at a nice even 90 seconds. The two fights combined, 90 seconds. 2 Cain Velasquez busted knees, 2 Cain Velasquez busted brains, and the guy that can actually do something for this division moving forward was the guy that won.
That's right. Good work.
Thank you.
All right. Wes.
Yeah, I'm fairly happy with this one. Not just because
get
I had
the fuck out of here.
Well, thanks for
Wes.
sharing.
Fairly happy.
No,
Your pants were on the ceiling. Get out of here.
I had a really good bet on Ngannou here, and I get where everybody was coming from with Cain. Straws and bubblegum Cain, and back in the day, I think he would have ran over Ngannou. He would have fucking took him down and smashed on him. This ain't that guy anymore, man. The whole thing with the knee and come on, man. Like there was so many angles, like 30 seconds after that fight, showing that he got like popped with that uppercut.
That wasn't even the first shot he got popped with either.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was already caught a couple big ones. And then they were like, oh well, there's this video of him slipping and tweaking his knee at the workout the day before. And, you know, if you look at that video, no, he slipped on a wet spot a little bit and was like, I'm done. I'm done practicing. But people's trying to use that like, I see so many people that don't believe in Ngannou. I just don't get it.
Good.
Like,
keep giving me plus 200s on him.
I hear you, man. Like, I don't get it. Like, of course the guy doesn't have Cain Velasquez wrestling. He's a fucking from Africa. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he wasn't going to Arizona State and shit. Like, he doesn't have the wrestling of fucking Stipe and shit, but the dude's getting better and better. If he just gets it good enough to where he can keep fights on the feet for any amount of time, man. I mean, he rocked Stipe in that fight. He caught Stipe early and rocked the shit out of him. The guy just hits like a truck, man. I mean, his hands are just, they're massive. I think the guy's going to be champ still. I mean, I'm biased as hell, dude, but I think the dude is really, really good. And there's not a guy in that division that can take a couple of his punches, man. No, nobody. So I think he holds that belt again.
All right, Nushan, what are your thoughts on the main event?
Well, yeah, like Brad said, Cain's MCL and ACL were you know, hanging on by a thread, just like every other part of fucking Cain's body. And Ngannou hit him with the old 3-foot punch or 3-inch punch, and it rattled his entire body, and it snapped every fucking ACL and MCL that was in Cain's knees. It was a weird finish on first look. Like, I was like, what the hell happened? And then obviously you could see when they slowed it down and showed some angles. But yeah, I know people shit on Ngannou. They're like, oh, his power's overrated and all this. He literally hit Cain with like a 4 or 5 inch punch and absolutely dropped him. So he must have
car, man.
He must have a little bit of power. So I was happy with my bet, happy with the finish, and I mean, I guess you do what next? A Stipe fight?
I don't know. They're not. They're
or just do the Cormier fight. Like, I don't know.
They're saying Cormier has a different fight lined up, and I think Cormier and Bones fight before Cormier and Hagano fight. That's just my prediction.
I can't believe people still want to see a third fight from them. I don't get it.
Steroids, Brad. Steroids. Ever heard of them?
Steroids, and they think that if it's at heavyweight, that DC will be able to take his shots a little better and this and that. And it's like DC's no better with 20 pounds of fat around his fucking waist than he is without that 20 pounds of fat around his waist. It just, yeah.
Yeah, and Jones will have no extra benefit from not cutting weight either. Like, fuck off.
Yep. But I think that fight happens this year. The way Dana talks, that fight's going to happen. I don't like the DC fight at this point for Hagano. I mean, that's a pretty bad fight for him, honestly. Like, DC's still a badass dude, man. Like, as much as I don't really care for the motherfucker, he's awesome. That's a guy I got in my top 5 pound for pound.
Probably number 4.
He's up there.
I know. He's up there. He's definitely up there. I guess this means we can move on to this week's card. We're going to Europe, and it's like a 5.7 card with like 3 really good fights, and the rest not so much.
Yeah, there's going to be some action on this card.
There'll be some action. 13 fights. There's
Jesus, really? You got to be shitting me.
Well, don't worry, Wes. I'm not going to take too long on a bunch of them.
Yeah, and the first seven are on ESPN2, so I don't know what the pacing's going to be like.
And it starts at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
ESPN is cool with fights during the middle of the day. I guess that's a new thing. Okay.
And we always get day fights a few times a year.
But usually they're on Fight Pass.
Yeah. Usually on Fight Pass, yeah. I mean, what's ESPN showing at 11 o'clock? Like, game day overhead camera?
Yeah, ready for college basketball.
I've seen them do some, like, afternoon boxing and stuff like that, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah. So we're going to start with Damir Ismagulov, who Jay's a fan of, taking on Joel Alvarez. Brad, I assume you have no take on this fight.
No, I feel like there's some good nicknames to be made out of Demir's name, but I haven't come up with something good enough that I want to unveil it on the podcast yet.
I mean, he gave us broke back already, so like take the rest of the night off.
Oh, did you want me to break down? I don't know who either of these guys are.
Brokeback Arena, yeah.
Yeah,
I figured you didn't know who they were. All right, Wes, give me your thoughts on this one if you have any.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still pretty high on Ismagulov. I know his debut in the UFC. I mean, I thought he looked pretty good, but I think a lot of people were expecting him to finish the dude he was fighting, and man, this guy Alvarez he's fighting, I've just seen some highlights on him.
He's fought against nobody.
Nobody's, and man, you're talking about tall guy defense for this weight class, and besides that, I was up yesterday early and got on the openers on Bet Online, and they opened Ismagulov at -110, which is absolutely insanity. So yeah, I bet Ismagulov here. I don't care who he was fighting here. If they opened him -110, I was playing that.
Sean, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think the number was low because I mean when you're a -500, -600 favorite and you take a die to a decision and you don't look great, then there's going to be some correction to that. But I think he wins, but I'm not touching that fight. I think there's some other fights that I like better, but he should get the win.
I got Alvarez a D, Ismagulov a C+. I have no clue how this fight opened to pick him at -110. That to me is an alarming number and shows me that whoever actually set that line hasn't seen Alvarez fight. Ismagulov should be a 3 to 3.5. I would say 3.5 to 1 favorite. He's now in the 250 range. I think even this is a real parlay piece here.
Yeah, I'd still bet him.
Wes kind of broke it down. Ismagulov is multifaceted, one of the better prospects to enter the UFC over the last 12 months, and really should wipe the floor with Joel Alvarez. So Ismagulov's my pick. Next fight up, we got Rusty Cables taking on CDF, Carlos Diego Ferreira. Brad.
Ooh, I like the little...
Yeah, throw it on there.
The little...
There you go.
I rolled my R's for you.
That's right. I appreciate it. Yeah, I actually know who these guys are because they are fighters that belong in the UFC. I was high on CDF when he first came into the UFC, when he made his little run through Legacy, and he's just never really developed into anything better than he was on the regional circuit. So his striking is still way too mechanical to get it done against anybody that's a good athlete or a good striker. And, Rusty Cables isn't the best striker around, but he's going to be able to close the distance, get this to the ground, and Diego's not going to be able to do enough off his back to get a sub. So, Rusty Cables' decision.
Okay. Mr. Colvin.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with a lot of what Brad said. I like CDF. I've made a little bit of money off of him. He's had some decent wins, but Brad's right. His striking just still, it's still not great. Rusty Cable striking ain't the best either, but this isn't a guy that Diego Ferreira was going to be able to kind of get inside and muscle around and dirty box at all. That's all going to be Rusty Cable's game, and I think that's his path to victory here. So, Rusty Cable's by decision, and I played him at -125.
New Sean, this is where you're supposed to speak.
Yeah, I give a slight lean to Rusty Cables. That last fight against Cajun Johnson where he should have lost. That does scare me. I know Johnson's a bit underrated, but that's still not a good look.
He was in that fight. He was way underrated in that fight, I think.
And then CDF, he he had some trouble in that first round against Kyle Nelson, and I mean, obviously he was able to recover and do what he should have done in the second round. But it's just a steer clear on the sides. I did put Go's decision at -210 in two different parlays for 1 units each. I think regardless who wins, I think it's going to be kind of more of a boring fight, some grinding going on. Rusty cables, get some takedowns, not much happens, and we cruise to a decision.
I got both guys a C+. I think this is one of the more difficult fights to call on the card. I think Diego Ferreira is more crafty, but I think Kabalov is the more explosive fighter, more dynamic, and that makes it a tough fight to call. I'm going to lean towards Rusty Cables, again, because I think he has a higher X factor, but, Diego Ferreira is, again, the more steady fighter, and, again, this is one of the tougher fights to call, so no bet there. Now we'll move up to welterweight for the debut of Ismail Nordiev taking on Tractor, the Brazilian Tractor, Miguel Prazer. Brad, I assume you don't know anything about Nordiev, so I'm going to skip to Wes.
Well, it doesn't matter if I don't know anything about Nordiev.
You don't need to.
Tractor's going to do the same thing that he does to everybody, because this guy's been underrated since I was watching MMA. So he's been smashing dudes a little bit more, so he might even get the finish here.
Wow, Brad. Well, who else? Who's up?
Yeah, I know he's starting to get a little older and definitely a little shorter for this weight class. But man, he Tractor is a more of a tank, and we got another dude that's just going to be tall, lanky, and I think he's just going to spam a right hand and get in and take this guy down and beat on him a little bit. So yeah, I like Tractor quite a bit in this fight, and I got him in a parlay on the open at -240.
Can I say something before Sean starts that might make some people mad? If Tractor was 205 and his name was Ilir Latifi, people would be creaming all over him.
He's won 8 in a row. New Sean.
Yeah, I watched a bit of tape on Nordiev, and he definitely has some decent offense. But
tape study?
Yeah, look out. His defense and his takedown defense is bad, and Prazeres is going to have to be a little cautious at the start, but I think he gets in tight, gets him to the ground, and grinds him into dust. So I put Prazeres in a chalk parlay. I got a shitty number at -420, but I'll still take it.
I have Nordiev a D+, Mikel Prazeres a C. Nordiev, pretty physical, good right hand, but the takedown defense is a real question mark for me from what I can tell. I think he's going to struggle to defend, and as the fight wears on, it's going to be even more difficult for him. I think Prazeres has top control, scores some takedowns, just kind of controls the fight from the mat, and that's what he'll need to do to win. The longer this fight stays on the feet, the longer Prazeres is in trouble. But I don't think he'll have to worry that much because I think he can actually get takedowns this bout and get a decision. So I believe in Mikel Prazeres, and he's going to get the W by decision. Demir taking on Marco Polo. Someone say Marco Polo. Reyes. Bradford, any thoughts on Marco Polo? Marco Polo.
He's a fun dude to watch, and Demir is a fun dude to watch, and this is probably going to be your guaranteed entertainment on the prelims.
Okay. Fine. Wesley.
Yeah, I agree with Brad. This should be a pretty fun fight. I kind of leaned to Hadžić in this one. They're going over to his neck of the woods for this fight, and in a fight that I think is going to just be kind of back and forth and pretty fun. I took a really small shot on him at even money on the opener. Believe it's still around that price. I just think he can get inside a little more and make this a little ugly, as long as he don't stay at too much distance and let Polo tee off on him. I think he's got a pretty good chance to win a decision here. So, yeah, small bit.
It's snowing in Vegas, so, crazy things are coming. New Sean.
Yeah, I don't really have a good read on this fight. I think it'll be close. Like you guys said, it's going to be action-packed, so if you maybe take a shot it doesn't go decision, but it is juiced up at minus 175, so I don't like that as much, actually. I thought it was I thought it was flipped around. I thought fight doesn't go was 135, but that is what goes to decision is. But I'll pick Hadzovic.
I got Hadzovic D+, Marco Polo Reyes a C-. I think Reyes is just a more dynamic striker. I think he's more capable of getting the finish. On the feet, I mean, from a technical standpoint, I think it's fairly even. I just think Reyes possesses more power, more finishing ability. That's why I rate him higher, and I think he's more likely to get the result. So, to get the win, but it's not a fight I want to bet. First female fight on the card. We know New Sean can't wait to talk about this one. For something called Veronica Macedo taking on Jillian Robertson. Brad.
Pound per pound number 9 Canadian right there.
Oh, on the list.
That's New Sean's.
Why is there a list of pound for pound Canadians?
Because most Canadians are
surely
shit,
you haven't
that's
been
why.
listening to the show. In your absence.
I'm not talking about this fight. Just skip me.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that was a thing. All right, New Sean or Wes. Actually, let's hear your thoughts.
I don't care. Go ahead, New Sean.
Yeah, and I don't care either. Didn't even play Eagles decision.
Holy shit!
The Canadian chick choked in her last fight. She was winning and got subbed. So who knows? Maybe that'll happen again. She's a 5-3 fighter going against a 5-2 fighter. So this is going to be good.
Well, I'll tell you what. Macedo's a D and Robertson's a D+. Robertson's a better fighter. Way more physical. Way, better striker. I think Robertson kind of beats her up, wins this fight. I think it's actually one of the better sides on this card for a card that's not really a strong betting card. All right, so let's move up to featherweight. I guess that's moving up, right, from women's flyweight. We got the other tamer who didn't smoke Bronx Oliveira taking on
but this is the shittier one.
The golden fish. Christopher Fishgold. Brad, do you have any thoughts on this one?
I actually watched Fishgold a bunch of times when he was in Cage Warriors, and he's a fun dude to watch. I honestly didn't know he was in the UFC, so but I think that he's going to be able to outlast Tamer, because I know Tamer's cardio was absolute dog shit in his last fight, and I know Fishgold's used to getting quick finishes, but I think that he can stick with that pace if he needs to as well. So I think Fishgold's probably going to sub him out in the second, third round.
Wes.
Yeah, I tell you, I think Tamer is far more technical on the feet than Fishgold, and probably the little bit better fighter. But the problem is, like Brad said, that dude gasses hard. I mean, really fucking hard. And Fishgold, he's going to be there in the third round. The line's it's creeping up to where I might have to take a little shot. I mean, this fight opened round pick on plus 110, I believe, on Tamer, and it's up to like 210 now. So this gets up to in the plus 250 range. I'm going to have to take a small shot on Tamer.
I see 240 a lot of places.
Yeah,
240, 250.
Yeah, that's
if it gets up
too
there,
much.
I'm going to have to, because I think Tamer is going to win round 1, maybe 2, and then you're going to just be holding on for dear life. And
clench, full clench.
If it gets plus 250, I'll take a small clinch and see if he holds on. But I'm going to need that number because I know he's going to gas.
Are they doing live lines for ESPN Plus?
This one's going to be on ESPN, so they might I think they do live lines for ESPN Plus.
DSI, they're doing actual in-play betting now on UFC fights, actual live lines to where you can bet them during
all
the
throughout
fight.
the round. Yeah,
that's what I do. Yes. So, Nushan, your thoughts on this bout?
Yeah, I don't have much. I think Fishgold maybe gets a late sub if Tamer does tire, but maybe he's shored up that cardio problems, and maybe he'll surprise us all.
Yeah, I got Fishgold a C-, Tamer a D+. I like Fishgold's work rate to over the course of the fight to get a decision, but I'm with Wes that this number is sneaking up definitely more than what I'm willing to consider, and almost to the point where Tamer might be worth a little bit of a look. We got the final preliminary card, so the final televised portion of the card. We got Carlo Pedersoli Jr. taking on a Dwight Grant. I'm going to take a guess and say Brad.
I've heard these guys' names, but I would not be able to pick them out of a crowd.
What is a Pedersoli?
Usually they end up in prison, don't they?
All right, Wes.
Yeah, I don't think much of Pedersoli, man. Split decisions over Brad Scott and fucking Dalby. I just think Grant's going to be a little too dynamic for him in this fight, and I took a little shot on Grant at plus 125. I didn't expect him to be the underdog in this fight, so I took a little shot. I think he gets a late finish in this fight.
Mm-hmm. Nushan.
Dynamic Wes? I mean, you could just say he's the blacker guy. I mean,
yeah, I want to be politically correct.
Wait, you mean Carlo Pedersoli isn't a black guy?
Grant is 34. That's a bit worrisome. I mean, he has only had 10 fights, but he is getting up there in age, but he hasn't taken the damage that most guys would have. Hard to know what Pedersoli is. Just got starched by Cowboy in his last fight, but based on those other fights that Wes mentioned, I don't think he's that good. I think it's a close fight. I got plus 135 on Dwight Grant, and I took a shot for 1 unit.
I have Carlo Pedersoli a D+, Dwight Grant a D. I don't hate Pedersoli. I think he's decent from what I've seen. A little bigger than Grant. Concern. Late to be kind of joining the UFC party. That's never really a great sign. So I'm going to take Pedersoli Jr. But again, this is not a fight I really am inclined to bet. First fight up on the main card, which to me feels like the undercard since it's on Fight or ESPN Plus rather. We got Magomed Ankalaev taking on a newcomer called, let me see if I can even read this name right, Klidson Abreu. That can't be a real name, Brad, can it?
That certainly does not sound like a real name. So you got that going for you.
Uh-huh.
So I don't even know what to do with this guy. Like Clidden play? I don't know. Something.
Klidson.
He said Clidden play.
Have not ever heard of this guy. I see that I've got Tapology up because, I'm doing my research. I see that he's holding a belt that says Brave on it. So I'm not sure if that's a fighting promotion or like this was for like a coming out photo shoot or something for him. So
here, hold this belt.
I'm gonna go with the Russian who sounds like he probably wrestles and is boring.
He doesn't wrestle, Brad.
Yeah, he's actually.
So he doesn't wrestle and he's boring.
No, he's pretty fun.
Ooh. All right. Well, I'll give Ankle Madov a chance.
Ankle Madov. All right. Wes, you up now?
I like Ankalaev in this fight. He's had a couple pretty good outings. That last fight was a lot more closer to what we thought he was going to be when he came over to the UFC. I've still got a little hate for that fucker getting given up to Paul Craig in the last.
Oh, this was that guy.
Yeah, that beat the shit out of Paul Craig.
Tapped with 1 second left.
Yeah.
In the fight.
But yeah, he did come back in his last fight and looked really, really good. I haven't seen much of this guy he's fighting, but he looks like a fucking jiu-jitsu guy on fighting on shitty cards against shitty guys, getting easy subs. So I took a small shot on Ankalaev here. I parlayed him at minus 225 with Tracker, and that's plus money.
Sean.
Diabreu gets hit a lot. He's kind of pulled out some wins kind of out of his ass a bit lately.
Nice.
And I don't think he's going to do that here. I mean, obviously, he might have some flashbacks to the Paul Craig fight, but Ankalaev, I think, is good, and hopefully he put that Paul Craig loss past him, and he's learned from it. I think Ankalaev destroys this guy. Probably finishes him in round 2. I put him in the chalk parlay at minus 305. Terrible number once again.
Terrible. Okay.
Gonna pay though.
I got Ankalaev. Where's the grade? Oh my god, it was my mind.
C.
I got a C for him, and no grade yet for the Brazilian. I'm going to have to skip this one because I will do a scouting report on the newcomer. So that is my skip for this event. Fight on the card coming up next. We got the little guy, John Dodson, taking on a friend of the MMA Analysis, Peter Yan. Bradford, your thoughts?
So I'm not sure how close you guys pay attention to MMA, but I heard about this prospect kid, this Peter Yan kid, and I hear he's pretty good. You know, he's been in some pretty obscure organizations. You might not have seen him fight yet, but he's not bad. I think he'll give John Dodson a little fight here, and you know how it is with Dodson. He'll do something crazy and then nothing at all for 3 minutes at a time, and he'll lose a decision. So there you go.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Wes.
Yeah, we're all pretty big Peter Yan fans on this show, of course. I mean, I really like Dodson, man, but he's starting to hit that point, man, to where the age is going to affect him a lot more than most guys. We know how it affects guys down at the lower weights, and I mean, his game has always been built on speed and evasiveness and stuff, and that's the stuff that's going to go first down at these weight classes. And I just think we're going to see a lot of the same Dodson. He's going to run around the cage, and I think Yana cut off the cage and walk him down nicely and land a few punches each round and just kind of win those rounds and take a decision here. So I closed out a parlay I had with Peter Yan, and I got him at minus 205.
New Sean.
Yeah, I like Peter Yan here. Dodson has been gradually getting worse, I think, in his last couple fights, and he did not look
really bad. Yeah.
Jimmy Rivera fight, he threw nothing. He was getting hit. Like, it was just an all-around bad fight. And one thing that Peter Yan is action, and he's going to bring it to Dodson. And the statistical, we talked about significant strikes and stuff like that. It's going to be drastic in this fight for Yan against Dodson, because Dodson just does not throw. Brad's pretty on point. I don't know how he hasn't been watching much MMA, but I think he's nailed this to a T.
John Dodson's been the same guy for like 35 years.
Just does not throw, and at this weight, he doesn't have the power that he did against the flyweights. So he doesn't really get the respect that he was down there. So I think this is going to be all Peter Yan, and I know the number's a bit wide, but he is really good. So I added him. He's the final leg of that chalk parlay. I got one unit, and it's at plus 108. Jan, Ankalaev, and the Tracta.
Money.
I got both guys a B. I think Dodson certainly is an explosive fighter. I mean, he may not be as good as he was at his peak, but he's still a very formidable bantamweight. Peter Yan's biggest test to date, so Dodson's movement could be a concern for Jan, but I just think Jan's just more active in the striking. He's going to throw more. He's going to land more. Ultimately, that's what wins, right? So I'll take Peter Yan to win by decision. I do think this price has definitely drifted a bit from what I'd ultimately like to play. I don't necessarily trust Peter Yan yet. I mean, considering we haven't seen him against an upper tier fighter, and I mean that's really it. I mean, this is like the biggest underdog that Dodson's been since. I mean, other than when he fought Demetrius Johnson. So that's a little bit of alarm, but I do think Jan is capable of winning this fight. A few more fights to call on this card. We got 4 left. We got the return of the original title challenger, Liz Carmouche, taking on something called Lucy Pudilova. Brad?
Pudilova.
Yes.
What's Puds up to these days? Is KSW still a thing?
Puds. Yes.
Yeah.
I'll probably go watch some KSW.
That could work.
Yeah. Puds has a fight coming up.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I remember that.
They've signed some other big meatheads too.
They like their meatheads.
Who's that one guy signed with? Was it one or somebody? Martin. What's that dude's name? The tattoo on his head and shit. They fucking bodybuilder.
Not Beaucamp.
What the fuck is his name? Oh man, he was on he does those weightlifting videos with those 1%er dudes and shit.
What's his 1%ers?
Yeah, the Rich Bananas and all the dude that died and shit.
I don't know what that is.
But yeah, they love their juiced up dudes over in Poland.
Yes, they do. They really do.
Let's see. Yeah, I actually think Carmouche should smash this chick, and I threw a small little action play -110 on Carmouche. She's gonna get a decision.
I don't disagree. Nushan.
Yeah, I also forgot I put Dodson and Yan to go to decision in 2 different parlays. Closed out the Hobbyloft CDF fight, and that one's +108, and then the other one's going to be in the main event. But yeah, I don't care about this fight. I was looking at goes to decision, and I decided I don't even care enough to play that. But Carmouche should win.
Nice guy, he is. All right, so I got Carmouche a B-, Pudilova a C. You know, Pudilova's had okay success in the UFC, but I feel Carmouche is the way more physical fighter, stronger. Honestly, that's the name of the game in this weight class. Takedowns, control. I'll take Carmouche. I thought this was kind of a weird, you know, at the opener -110, I thought that was, you know, almost a surefire play. It's -140-ish now. It's kind of there, but I'll wait it out a little bit more. If it comes down to under -130, it will be a bet for me. So we got 3 fights left. I believe Johnny Vellante is the next guy we're going to be talking about. It sure is. Johnny Vellante taking on Mikhail Oleg something or other. Brad, I don't care.
It's Michael Olowokandi, Jay. Come on.
Oh, sorry.
Hawaii's finest.
How could I forget that?
He got popped for drugs or something. Like they still pretend like they test for drugs in MMA.
That's nice of him.
Yeah, he was out for a year.
Yeah. Yeah, he kind of
drugs are bad.
No, the drugs are fine. Jesus. He kind of just kept throwing. Didn't look impressive, really. Just kept throwing things, and Roundtree stopped throwing things, if I recall that fight correctly. And Vellante's a guy that he's very capable of doing that too as well. But I can see Vellante landing a big shot or two, maybe getting a takedown or two, and stealing this fight. But it's probably not going to go down like that.
Probably not. Mr. Colvin.
Yeah, a lot of what Brad said. Man, Vellante at this point, man, he's like 33, but goddamn, he seems like just an old punch-drunk boxer at this point, man. Like a stiff wind could rock this guy. I can't trust Vellante in this spot. I don't really trust the Candyman either. This is probably going to be a pass for me. I was looking at fight doesn't go decision at around plus 135. I haven't bet that yet either. Kind of see maybe it could make it to the cards, but man, these are some sloppy dudes, and I think they're going to throw a little bit. I got a feeling Vellante gets caught with something, gets taken out, so I might look at fight doesn't go to the decision if I want a little action.
New Sean.
How bad is, like, I know it's, like, easy, but, like, how bad is that spelling of John? Like, that can't be real, right?
It's Italian.
It's Italian, yeah.
They spell John in Italy Gian. Is that serious?
That's right. He's the OG.
Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty terrible.
I didn't make it up, New Sean.
I know, but it's still
New Sean.
bad.
Italy is stupid.
Yeah. Things
fair.
you should know. You should get older.
These guys are both terrible.
Correct.
Olo Candy probably is better. He's younger. He probably gets a finish. Maybe look at that doesn't go decision prop that Wes mentioned. I really can't care about this fight.
Why would you?
Fair.
I got both guys at D+. I mean, my first thoughts on this bout were Jan Blachowicz tires out so quickly in fights that his opponent will take over, and I feel that's kind of what happened in his. But Vellante hits so much harder, and I think he's more talented. It's kind of a tough fight to call. I mean, and then I've seen it looking at the line, and this guy's over 2-1 over Vellante. I mean, it really does seem a bit. It seems a bit much. I was thinking maybe more like minus 150, plus 120. So it's definitely a little overpriced. I mean, for what you're ultimately getting. I mean, do you really see like much interest in like in betting this guy and having money on this guy over 2-1 odds against Vellante? I doubt it. I don't think many people do. So I do think the price should be lower. And
Vallante's last 4 fights have all been split decisions. Like the guy is always in close fights
with terrible people.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
Because he wins early and then gasses and loses late. And it's like the exact same, and the same thing's going to happen here. It's just a matter of if he survives
the second round
and how the judges score it.
Right. So that's the point exactly. So I don't know if you can really. Why would you want your money on a guy who's over 2-1, and it's likely going to be in a split decision, as Brad pointed out. Money is probably better on Vellante. Take the shot. The other, from the underdog perspective, but right now it's not a touch for me. But I mean, if Vellante goes up any further, I mean, if it touches 2-1, this has to be a play for me. The price just is a little out of whack. Co-main event. This is as mookie as it gets. We got a Brazilian Marcos Rogério de Lima taking on the smallest heart but biggest man in MMA, Stefan Struve.
That might be the funniest thing you said on there, Jay.
Bradford, talk about
man.
Mr. Smallheart.
I feel like my presence has inspired greatness in you, Jay. That's I don't know where to go from this. I might actually have to be serious and break down a fight here.
Wow.
Breaking news. I'm not going to give you anything here. I think Struve's finally turned the corner, guys. I think he's finally learned how to use his reach, and
that's what he said.
And that's going to be his advantage in this fight. And he's going to use that length that he has that nobody can match, and he's going to rise up the ranks. He's going to defeat Stipe a second time, and he's going to win the title. So it's Stefan Struve all day, every day.
All day, every day.
I want what Brad's on right now.
Colvin.
He's been up in that attic, fucking sniffing fucking tainted ice.
Yeah, in the attic.
My lungs are like 30% asbestos at this point.
Yeah, man, come on. Can we just stop pretending like Stefan Struve isn't like what he is? And dude's like Jay said, he's got fucking shotgun pellets in his heart and shit. Like, I mean,
Those are my words.
Where's Tony Stark when you need him, right?
Yeah.
Get
Nice.
Stephen Struve some shit for his heart. Come on,
Yeah,
man.
I mean, we keep forgetting this dude was like having strokes and shit not a few years ago. I gotta play fucking Lima here out of fucking principle, man. Minus 125. I put a couple units on that. Maybe Struve gets him with something. I can't see it, man. The guy's he's not good, dude. He's like Brad said, maybe he uses the reach. Maybe he moves up the ranks. I don't see it. Yeah, smart. I took a shot on Lima here. I'm fading Stephen Struve every time out. That dude's just not good at this point.
New Sean.
It's so bad that, with Struve not using his reach that like fans have shit on him so much that he actually had to respond, and he's like, "No, guys, I'm serious. I've kind of learned how to use it now. That's what he's come out with lately.
Kind of learned.
There's no way. But in this fight, I might throw a dart at Struve by sub. Maybe it'll be like plus 300, plus 400 when it comes out.
It's not terrible.
He's gonna get that triangle from his
Lima's
back.
got subbed by fucking Krylov. Like he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. So
no, he's not.
He's gonna be gassed after 4 minutes.
Oh, he could be gassed. He could be smashing Struve and try to finish him on the ground, and he could end up getting subs. So
he is mookie.
He is very mookie. He probably wins, but yeah, I might take a stab at old Struve by sub. Oh man.
Just light it on fire.
I got Struve a D plus and Rogerio de Lima a D. Rogerio de Lima, again, the cardio is a major factor. He's terrible in that regard. And I mean, he's pretty good early, and he's kind of a bully. But if there's any sort of resistance from Struve, which there could be, the fight goes to the ground that favors Struve. And
that was also at 205. Now he doesn't have to.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. So we'll see. I'm going to take Struve. I just think he's way more skilled. He's more talented, and there's more ways to win. But man, this is not a fight you want to have your money on. This is the mook. This is absolutely the mook fight of the night.
Lima's going to fuck him up.
Out of fucking doubt. That's fine.
Lima might fuck him up and still lose.
Yeah.
Main event time. We are down to the main event. We got Jan Blachowicz taking on Thiago Santos, which is a top 10 light heavyweight contest. Okay. Fine. Brad?
Yeah, I think that this is going to be at range for too long. I don't think Blachowicz is the type of guy who shows enough urgency to do what he needs to do in fights, and also, he's just a super slow white guy.
Yeah.
So he's going to get kicked, and he's going to get punched, and I think one of those shots is going to put him out.
That's it. Okay. Cool.
I think it's going to be pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean that's you don't need to say much more, Brad. I don't think he could be more right, honestly. Blachowicz is he's too tentative. He lets fights kind of come to him a lot, lets guys kind of come to him, and then he try to gets a hold of them. It's just not going to be the case here. I mean, he's going to have fucking shit flying at him from the opening bell. I think Jay was talking like Santos is probably going to be a little smaller in this fight. Santos is pretty fucking jacked at this point. He's completely moved up to 205 now. He's been there for 18 months, couple years. Dude is just jacked the fuck up. He was huge in that Minowa fight. I like him quite a bit here. I think he's going to get Blachowicz out of there, man. I just think the guy's too slow, too prodding. I guess there's that chance he gets a hold of him and gets him down, but Santos's takedown defense has become really, really good. And, man, the dude hits like a Mack truck. One of my favorite fighters on the planet right now. I mean, that dude will literally go anywhere, fight anybody on any card at any time. Like, he's a legit throwback fighter, and we need a lot more of them in this sport. And, I got a couple units on him at minus 130.
Okay, new Sean.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Wes. Like, I see Blachowicz's path to victory. It's definitely possible he could get a takedown and get a sub, but like Wes said, I think he's too tentative on the feet. Santos is going to come in and do what he's been doing lately. He is definitely peaking right now, and I just think it's going to be just too much for Blachowicz. Blachowicz hasn't been finished since 2011, which is a bit scary. That was Sokaju.
Yep.
By retirement. That is so long.
Last guy he probably fought that's going to be throwing heat like Santos was Sokaju, though, too.
That's fair.
Yep.
So I just think Santos is just on a roll right now. He's definitely really taken to the light heavyweight division, and I think he KOs Blachowicz.
Best decision he made to 205.
Yeah, definitely to go up.
I don't know why more fighters don't do that as they get older.
Yeah, just jack up that big body.
Especially in like the certain weight classes where they're just garbage. Like light heavyweight is terrible. So you can climb the rankings pretty damn quickly. But yeah, I got Santos minus 130 for 2 units, and I also put Santos and Blachowicz doesn't go to decision in parlays with Jan and Habeloff to go decision. So yeah, I think Santos gets him.
Now for the man that killed the consensus.
Yeah, I got both guys at B-. I think this is a pick'em fight. I think it's very hard to call. Santos, I thought, was excellent at middleweight, and I think his power and his speed, excelled in that weight class. So he moves up, that takes away a little bit of the speed, and then also takes away a little bit of the power because now he's facing bigger fighters and it's not as impactful. Blachowicz is kind of the guy that like puts Santos a little bit in cement because he wants to slow the fight down. He'll make it physical. He'll make it more difficult for Santos. He's not Eric Anders. He's way bigger, and he's more compelling on the feet. I understand why some people like Thiago Santos. He's a hot fighter and he's a finisher. Blachowicz is boring, but sometimes boring wins out. I just see this as a difficult fight for Santos. I don't think this is a good matchup for him, and I think Blachowicz is the guy who's capable of slowing this down and not allowing Santos to kind of rile off the strikes that he does, that make him the fighter that people love and the fighter that people like to see win. So I'm gonna say Blachowicz wins this fight by a grind out type of thing. Maybe slows Santos down, gets a submission at some point in this fight, maybe in the mid rounds or so. I don't like this matchup for Santos. So I'm going to take Blachowicz by decision. And again, no consensus this week yet again. I think we'll probably have one on the pay-per-view card in the following, 2 weeks from now. But that does it for this week's edition of the MMA Analysis podcast. We are happy and glad that Brad could join us this week. A little bit of a throwback edition. Thanks for New Sean and Wes for
putting up with me,
putting up with Bradford. We'll see when Brad comes on again. Maybe sometime around Halloween is my guess, but we'll see. But thanks again, and enjoy the fights. And I can't wait to come back and talk about the return of Jonathan Dwight as he fights again. I can't believe it. 2 fights
getting
in like
this
months.
close. That's insane.
Fights a guy that Thiago Santos just knocked out a year ago.
That's the light heavyweight division, baby.
Never been better. Enjoy the fights.